Hi, this is Patsy with a Z. Welcome to Joy on Paper Live, a program for writers and those who dream of writing, and for everyone who wants to know the story behind the book. I am so happy to welcome to Joy on Paper Live, Cathryn Michon. You're going to love her book, and I love her book because it is so wonderful. It's I'm Still Here, A Dog's Purpose Forever. Hi, Cathryn.
Hi, thanks so much for having me on your show.
Uh, okay, it's great that you could finally get through. I understand that you're having a little problem there in Los Angeles. I think we hear a little bit that you're in a hotel lobby.
Hotel. I'm in a lobby of the Marriott in my neighborhood because the Wi-Fi and electricity and everything is out at our house. So I came over here so that I could talk to you.
I'm so happy because it is so wonderful to talk to you. The book, of course, is fantastic. Everybody, if you have a dog, you'll love it. If you don't have a dog, you'll want a dog. It's a beautiful story. I want to tell people a little bit about you because you are quite an amazing, you are so accomplished. It is just, I don't know, everything. You're an award winning comic, actress, improviser, screenwriter, and book author. It's so much fun to learn that you started off your career in the second city. So you might tell us a little bit
Yeah,
about that. And then, of course, you're the author of the best selling The Girl Genius Guide to Life, which I've always loved that cover. It's so cute. I think everything that you've done is fascinating. And you're going to talk about this book, but let's talk also about this because this is such a wonderful accomplishment. Um, a dog's purpose and a dog's way home. Tell us who's with you there.
W. Bruce Cameron, who's the #1 New York Times best-selling author of A Dog's Purpose. And together, we were the screenwriters for 3 films made of his books. First, A Dog's Purpose, and then A Dog's Way Home, then A Dog's Journey. And that's what led me to want to write I'm Still Here, A Dog's Purpose Forever.
It is a beautifully written book and beautifully illustrated. So I have some photos that I can just put them up and you can talk about them and tell us a little bit about the book and about the inspiration for the book.
Yes,
So
this book is told from the point of view of an angel dog who wants you to know that he's still here. And the image that you're seeing right there, that's actually my dog, Tucker, who was the model for the angel dog in the book. The dog wants you to know that they're still here, their spirit is still here with you, but he's also over the Rainbow Bridge with all the people and animals that you have loved. He wants you to understand that this relationship that you have with him, your dog, is a forever relationship, that their souls are eternal just as our souls are eternal. This book is giving you that message.
it certainly does. I think I mentioned to you before that I had a dog when I was a child, Sammy, and I've never had a dog since. But he's always with me. I think of him all the time. I remember everything that he did, and I loved him so much. He was a delight, the delight of
Well,
my life there.
loves you. What's interesting, people always say, why can't dogs live longer? Why don't they live as long as people? No one has ever thought to ask the dog about that, but in my book, I'm Still Here, A Dog's Purpose Forever, that's exactly what I did as the author. And the dog had some kind of surprising opinions. For example, he thinks it's a good idea that dogs don't live as long as people because, as he says, that means we can go first and show you that it's no big deal. And also means that when it's our time to cross the bridge, that they can be there on the other side waiting to greet us.
Oh, it's such a beautiful. It's the way you write it, the words that it must have been. Some of the words I think you must have cried when you were writing it because they bring tears to my eyes.
It's an emotional book, but a comforting book. The book really comforted me. There's Tucker. He's in that image. There's a whole section in the book, which is very funny. There's a lot of laughs in
Oh
the book.
yeah.
People are surprised to find that. This is a whole section in the book where he's talking about how sit is like a ridiculous trick that dogs doesn't like it one bit, but he will do it because it makes people happy. And then he goes on to talk about how if you think sit was bad, wait until you hear stay, because that's even worse.
Oh, you've written it with, it's so charming, and I love the layout. Of course, the illustrations by Seth Taylor, they are amazing.
They're beautiful. And it was a fun project for me because mostly what I do now is I've been a film director and a filmmaker. And for me, this was just like making a movie in many ways because it's all dialogue. The dog is just talking to you. And then it's like doing the storyboard for a film. I shot thousands of photographs, both of Tucker and other dogs, that became the paintings in the book. So it was like editing a movie, except it's a book. It's visual storytelling, which is my favorite.
And now this one, this is a lovely illustration, isn't it?
Yeah, that's where the dog in the book is. He says, words are not barks. Words are what people do. And then he talks about how barks are just like an amazing thing and they're so fun. And sometimes you just have to bark. You can't help it. Although, again, people don't like it when you do it. So eventually you try to stop barking. That's a beagle, of course, and their howl is one of their great breed characteristics. Although my dog Tucker, it turns out we did his DNA and he's part beagle and he occasionally howls. It's quite fun.
Now, this one, this is a lovely illustration here. Just that it so reminds me of Sammy. He used to follow me like my shadow. He was always, I take off wherever I go, he'd be running behind me.
Yeah, so that picture was really fun because, of course, I had to shoot a reference photograph for that. And Tucker had to be off leash, which he's a city dog, so he's not really used to that so much. So we did it in the garage of the building across the street. And yet he did his work, and I just had him following me, and I had a little treat in that pocket, so he was happy to do it.
Well, it's lovely. It's one of those illustrations when you get to it in the book, you stop. And for anybody who's had a dog, you remember that when they're at your heels. And I love this illustration too.
That's me, of course, lying in bed. And this is the part of the book where the dog talks about how you meet each other in dreams and how real that feels to you. He wants you to know that it's just as real when you're awake. He is there with you much of the time, loving you and guiding you. I think it's just a beautiful image to think that they're always there, you know.
Let's go back to this picture where we talk about a dog's purpose. Now, a dog's purpose, it was on the best-selling list how long?
Oh my gosh, well over a year. I think it was like 72 weeks or something. It was a long time, and it continues to be a bestseller, of course. It's a classic book. And part of what happened with I'm Still Here, A Dog's Purpose Forever is that Bruce and I both felt that even though the message of a dog's purpose, it being a story told from a dog who reincarnates and remembers all of his lives and comes back to save his original boy, even though that's a story of the eternity of their souls, it's a novel, and the dog dies and is reincarnated, and that's emotional. And we just felt like there ought to be a book with a very similar message, but that was a more gentle way of telling the story, and that would be a beautiful gift book with watercolor paintings that you could give to someone when they've lost a dog. You could give this book to them the day they said goodbye, and it would be a comfort. And that's what we both really wanted. So he asked me to write it, and I did.
Tell us about how it all started because it was this book. Explain the beginning. How did you meet your husband?
I met my husband on a talk show when we were both on book tour. I don't publish books anywhere near as often as he does. He's got 38 published books. I have 5. But we were on book tour and we were on a PBS talk show and we met in the green room.
get involved in writing a book about dogs?
Oh, that happened because not long before I met him, I lost the only dog I ever had. And we were starting to get serious with each other. And we were actually driving up the coast of California to go meet my parents, which, when you're an adult, when you're in your late 30s, is like, oh gosh, do I really still have to do this? And somehow, for some reason, I just said to him, you know what, I will never have another dog. And that doesn't work for Bruce. He comes from a very dog crazy family. Suddenly, a story just leapt into his head, completely formed. And Bruce is a natural storyteller, and he often tries to make a point by telling a story. He said, I have a story I want to tell you that I think is going to change your mind. I'm like, okay, go ahead. I'm like, whatever. And starts telling me this story. And to tell you, if you've seen the film A Dog's Purpose or read the book, the story that he told me was beat for beat exactly the story. And it took him an hour and a half to tell me the story of the police dog, and then like all the things that happen in the book and the movie were happening inside the car as we drove up the coast of California. And when he finished it, I was in tears because it's a beautiful and moving story. And I said, I do understand what you're saying. I get that this relationship is eternal. I hadn't really considered that, but I think this story is so beautiful, and I'm the only human being on earth that's heard it. I think it's going to be a book, and you need to write this as a book. And I'm so worried that it was so perfect as you told it to me that you're not going to remember, and I'm not going to remember. So he always had a recording device with him, and I asked him to record it, and he talked again for an hour and a half. It was his one man show on Broadway. I don't know how he does that. And I was in tears again when he finished, and I said, I think I have heard that story enough for today. And then he did write that book, and that book debuted on the New York Times bestseller list, and we've been off to the races ever since.
I think once he told you the story the first time, you could just sit back and say, "This guy's a keeper."
Oh, yes. Bruce always tells people, I like the story so much I married him.
Exactly. Anybody who can write a story and tell a story for you to try to give you something special. Wow, that's a keeper. So you've had so much fun with this, with the whole concept, and then how did you decide to turn it into a movie? Whose idea was that?
Oh, that was actually my idea. When he wrote A Dog's Purpose, and when it was still in manuscript, I had a very good friend, longtime friend, a man named Gavin Pallone, who's a very prominent showbiz producer. He's the executive producer of Curb Your Enthusiasm and Zombieland, and just a ton of things that he's produced. He is a very dedicated animal advocate, and that's part of how we knew each other. And I said, I think Gavin will produce this movie. And so I sent him when it was still in manuscript, and he loved it. And then, that's a long process too.
Oh, it's a long process. I know it is. But then you got to write the script, which is fun, and you'd done some script writing before, so you knew how to do that.
Yeah, I had been a TV writer, producer, and I'd been hired to do screenwriting and screen rewrites and stuff. So the studio was okay with having a novelist who had not been a screenwriter, allowing him to co screenwrite with me. And we've done that ever since, and we'll never do it. We'll never hand over one of our books to someone else to write, I don't think.
That's the best. If you want it done right, you have to stay in control because you never know what's going to happen. But you certainly have done it, and both of the films they're terrific, and they're all terrific, and they I don't know they're so highly rated. People watch these films.
Yes, that is one thing I'm really proud of with this whole brand. If you look on Amazon, if you look at any of our films, A Dog's Purpose, A Dog's Journey, A Dog's Way Home, they're all like solid 5 stars. Like there's not even a little hint of, and that's true for A Dog's Purpose, the book as well. And I'm very pleased to say that So far, I have something like 80 reviews or 90 something reviews on Goodreads for I'm Still Here, A Dog's Purpose Forever. And it's almost a solid 5-star there as well. People really love and I think connect with the emotions of this book because it's not just a book being told by a dog, it's a dog who's telling you that your soul is eternal and your purpose is the whole reason you are here on earth, and you need to find your purpose just the same way that the dog is searching for his purpose. I think that's a very profound and meaningful concept to people, and that's a lot of words to explain a concept, but really the last line of our movie A Dog's Purpose, the dog says, be here now. That's the point.
Exactly, and that's very true. The thing, what I love about both the books and the movie is that, wow, it first of all, it touches someplace in your heart, and this is, I'm sure this is true for everybody who reads this book, and I can't imagine anybody saying anything less than 5 stars because they're all beautifully written, and I love I'm Still Here. I love the sort of layout. It's you have the words, they flow across the page, and there's on some pages there aren't a lot of words, but what those words are coming from the heart of this dog, and it's so beautiful. And I
The publisher kind of categorized it oddly, but now I've come to peace with it. It's considered nonfiction self help, which is hilarious because, of course, I don't know how you could have a nonfiction book written by a dog because they don't, Tucker doesn't type.
yeah,
I think that it's true that the advice that the dog in I'm Still Here, A Dog's Purpose Forever has for humans is really good. One of his big points is he's very much wanting humans to not spend their lives in fear. He can smell emotions, he doesn't speak very many words, or he doesn't understand. Dogs understand words. He understands chicken, he understands car
oh,
ride.
chicken. He really understands chicken.
That's a very important word, as he'll tell you. He smells emotions and he smells that human beings spend too much of their life in fear. And we do. We think about taxes and things that aren't happening right now, but we live in fear of it. And dogs don't do that. For example, if I say to Tucker, go for a car ride, want to go for a car ride, he's very excited. And the truth is that as a senior dog, he's going to be 13 in October. A lot of his car rides are to the vet, which he does not like at all. He never approaches the car with fear. He's always excited. He's always optimistic that we're going somewhere good. And if it does end up being the vet, he goes through that experience and then he happily gets in the car ride to go over where we're going next. I think humans would do well to approach life with as much joy and as little fear as dogs do.
I'm glad you use the word joy because that's my favorite word, and I would just want to hold it up so that people can see the layout. You have the illustrations and you have the words, and they're just magical. And it makes a wonderful gift book. I think it's the ideal gift book because when you give a gift book, you want people to read it more than once. And this book, I know if you give it to somebody, you have a friend, maybe a dog lover, or maybe somebody who just needs some comforting, somebody who needs encouragement, because that's what
Yeah.
you get from this book. And so if you know somebody, and this whole after this pandemic-y thing where everybody got so depressed and life is difficult for so many people, this is a wonderful gift to give. The price is great, and anybody who gets this book they'll take it, they'll keep it next to them. I know they'll read it once, they'll read it twice, they'll look at the illustrations because really Seth Taylor is amazing.
Yeah,
um,
beautiful. And it's interesting, this really was a 10-year project. Bruce and I first came up with the title about 10 years ago, and it took a long time to find a wonderful publisher like Andrews McMeel who were willing to make a beautiful the book is physically stunning, do you know?
oh, it is.
On the cover, and all the paper
It
is
feels so good.
actually watercolor paper. So it's and it's a hardcover, and it's $20. Everyone that wanted to do this book wanted to make it like a $50 coffee table book, and I'm like, no, I want this to be the thing that if your friend loses their dog, it would be something affordable at $20 to give as a gift to that person, and I think it would be very meaningful. And then the other thing that we were able to do, and I really love this, so this is the front leaf of the book. It doesn't have a dust cover, so it's just like that. And that's a beautiful painting of footprints and paw prints at the shore in the sand. And those happen to be my footprints and my dog's paw prints. But we designed it this way so that you could mount a photo of an angel dog you wanted to honor in the book, so that it could become like a tribute to an
Oh,
angel that
that
you've loved. And I've never heard of anyone specifically designing a book so that you could customize it to give or to keep for yourself as a way of honoring.
I think that is a wonderful idea. As a matter of fact, the minute you said it, I have a photo of a friend with her dog who's no longer with us. The dog's gone many years now, but I have a picture of her dog, for goodness sakes, because an Alaskan husky with blue eyes,
Oh, I love them. They're
and
so beautiful.
such a beautiful dog, and he was just so good. He was you'd walk into the house when people went to visit her, people would just bypass her and head for the dog. Because that dog was just so loving and always remembered you and always, was so anxious to get reacquainted. So I have this really gorgeous where she because she also has blue eyes.
If you end up customizing your book for that dog or any dog, it's really easy. The nicest way to do it is to go on Amazon and get little gold photo, like your grandma had a photo album
Oh
that
yeah.
used, and so you just paste those in and then slide the photo into those photo corners, and it's beautiful. It makes a really special presentation, and I've made a number of them because I was shooting video content for social media, and so Tucker and I made one for his dog friend Tilly, another dog friend Harvey, and we made these books early on just to see if the whole concept really worked, and it did beautifully. And but it was very emotional to see Tilly's beautiful little face looking up at us from that front of the book was really special.
It's a wonderful idea, and I think that, as you said, $20 is so reasonable in this day and age when everything's so expensive. A gift, this is better than spending. You can spend $6-7 on a card, which just doesn't last. People might like it, but
Flowers, $75 or
yeah.
what,
But this book, if you give this book, people are going to keep it and people are going to treasure it. It's because as you said, the production value is tremendous, really tremendous. They don't do books like this that often anymore.
They really don't. Full color art on every page. And then even the thing that I wanted that I wasn't sure I was going to get, it may not be a big detail to other people, but I wanted the title to be this rose gold embossing.
Yes,
Uh,
exactly. This It's rare to get this kind of production. It's beautiful. It's lovely, and I would like just to hear a little bit more about you because I think you're so fascinating. What is this? What did you do when you were at Second City?
oh, I loved Second City. Second City really formed me as an artist. The whole idea of improv, the whole idea that in Jeffrey Sweet's book about Second City, it was entitled Something Wonderful Right Away. And it was just the willingness to toss yourself up on a stage and ask for a suggestion from the audience and then instantly choose to be a certain character and play with another actor. And all the ethos of improv is about, people talk about yes and. It's the way you come to having something wonderful right away is just agreeing with whatever your scene partner has come up with and trying to add to it. And that really formed me as an artist. It still forms me as a film director. I do a lot of improv with actors, either as part of the movie, is in my movie Cook Off with Melissa McCarthy, or just because we want to be able to play and see if we find something else really fun in a scene. So that was a very formative experience.
It sounds fascinating. And of course, you were a best selling author for, how do you pronounce it? You say Girl G. Tell us about this book.
It's a memoir, and it's a proto-feminist memoir because it's really all about trying to build your confidence, your self-confidence, declaring yourself to be a girl genius based on no empirical evidence whatsoever, just to make yourself, because guys do that all the time. And I just really wanted to also highlight other women geniuses who don't get credit. And it really became fresh for me last year when Oppenheimer was winning every award. I wasn't as big of a fan of that movie as I was of Barbie. And part of the reason is that Einstein is a character in the movie. And most people don't know this, but Einstein had a wife named Mileva Merrick Einstein, who actually was the mathematician who did the calculations for E equals mc squared, and they wrote that paper together. And then they got divorced, and Einstein was so powerful, he had her name taken off the papers, and he does not give her credit for their discovery of the theorem E equals mc squared. So that's just one of the stories of the women geniuses that I wanted to highlight. And this is in the year 2000. This was before Hidden Figures came out, or a lot of other stories of women who are great innovators who did not get their due.
It's a fascinating book too. So the it's so wonderful, as I said, to have such an accomplished. I've been having problems with talking to, when I since I started this YouTube channel, I've been contacted by people who say, I'm not sure if I like listening to the interviews, but I'm not sure if I could ever write. I'm not sure if I'm good enough. I'm not sure. I've been thinking about it. One lady said, I've been thinking about it for 25 years. And I, like, lady, get off your tush. Let's get moving. You have
Yeah,
to have some confidence.
late, I understand, but I think if you have something to say, you should say it. And I think it's there's no entrance gate that suddenly makes you a writer worthy of writing, except that you're writing and writing and rewriting and writing and writing. I'm Still Here, A Dog's Purpose Forever. It does not have a lot of words, right? It's a very spare book, but it took a long time to write because
It's like poetry. A poem, a poem can take a year to write a great poem because every word has to be thought through.
every little word. And just like I do a lot of times, I think I tend to overwrite, and then same way I make a movie, you shoot more than will ever be in the movie, of course, and then it becomes a process of winnowing it down and trimming it and shaping it. And that's that was the process with this book. So I think if someone is afraid to start writing, I would say just start writing and then start cutting, you know.
And enjoying the process because it is fun when you're playing with words and you see the power of them. As in this book, the words come out so powerfully that it almost takes your breath away when you read this book because there aren't, as you said, there aren't a lot of words, but when you sit back at the end, you feel so full, you feel so enriched. And that,
For that compliment. That really means a lot to me. I The dog addresses some very powerful concepts, and one of the key messages that he has that I think everybody who takes an animal companion into their home and makes them part of their family, he talks very clearly about the end of life and how much dogs appreciate. He says how much we appreciate it when you help us cross over, because they know that we're doing that. They know that we're helping them, and they are grateful. And I think a lot of people struggle with that because that's not something we can do for people for all the obvious reasons, because of money and property and all of that. We can't really help people cross over the bridge. But with animals, we have that ability to compassionately help them without pain to move on to their next stage. And I think it's really good to hear from the dog that they're grateful. That
I think so too.
they are grateful.
And have you had some wonderful fan experiences? People, fans both of the books and of the movie?
Oh yeah, that was also a big part of why I wrote this book. We've traveled all over the country with on book tours or with the films, and I've met obviously thousands of people, and people really want to share about their special angel dog, you know. And I always say that when people like on social media, we really encourage people to post photos of their angel dogs. I honestly believe that when you that simple act of sharing a photo or showing someone on your phone, this was Ellie, this was my dog, that it brings their spirit closer. They feel that love flowing from you the way they felt it when they were in their dog body here on earth. They love it, they treasure it, and I think it brings you closer to their soul.
I agree. I think you've done such a wonderful job with this book, and I want to encourage people to get it. I think it it's a book that will touch your heart, and it's a book that if you give it as a gift, it will be loved. It will be absolutely loved. People can find out more about you, and because your life is fascinating, here's your website.
If they also checked out the website.com, because that tells you all the places you can get the book, and there's still a couple of, I think there's one store left where if you wanted a signed copy it doesn't cost any extra. There are a few still. One thing that's happened with this book launch, which is even between Bruce and I, we've published over 40 books and this has never happened. Actually, as a week ago, we sold out the entire first printing of this. They had to do a rush printing, and those books are going to hit the warehouse. If you go on Amazon right now and search I'm Still Here, A Dog's Purpose Forever, usually on pub day you would get the book the next day. It's going to take a few extra days because they're trying to solve that supply chain problem because so many people have wanted to buy the book. So that's it's one of those good news bad news
It
scenarios.
is. Well, I will add that. I will add that website to the end of this interview so that people can have that. And I will make sure I will be talking about it a lot, but always at Christmas and holiday season, I have a special program. And I'd like you to come back. I'm going to have 5 or 6 authors of books that I recommend for Christmas gifts. And I'd
Well,
be
stocking stuffer. Let's even the size of it. I've had to put Bruce's books in stockings when we're doing holiday promotions, and they're a little too big. This one is perfect.
it's perfect. It's a perfect gift. Absolutely. So, Cathryn, I want to thank you so much for being on Joy on Paper. The book is beautiful. I just love to touch it. As you said, the cover, it just feels, doesn't it feel? Oh, it's just luxurious. That's the word for it.
It's
Yeah,
like a
exactly, exactly. I'm a lover of good books, and it does shine. It's so nice. Like the gold. I love it. I'm Still Here, A Dog's Purpose Forever. And it is a wonderful book. Cathryn, thank you for joining me today. You are delightful. You've accomplished so much. Perhaps you can join us for our Christmas program and we can talk more about this book, okay?
that sounds great.
Okay. Thank you now. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Okay. That was so much fun to talk to Cathryn about this wonderful book. It's a great book. If you know anyone who might be a little bit sad at this time of the year. Fall is coming, and a lot of people get down when it starts getting dark early. And this book, it's so beautiful. I love books with gold embossing. And for $20, it's really cheaper than probably any gift you can give. All you have to do is send it directly from Amazon or Barnes and Noble. A heartwarming gift. I want to thank Cathryn Michon for being a guest on Joy on Paper, and I hope that you will subscribe to this channel so that I can bring you more fascinating authors with wonderful books that will inspire you, that will remind you of the joys of life and to appreciate life. And if you have a dog in your life, to look at that dog and say, oh, what are you thinking about today? And who knows, maybe you have a dog who will inspire you to write a story. Make a comment. Authors really appreciate comments. You have to remember, like she said, it took her a long time to write this book. It takes authors a long time to write books. And when they finally come out of their writing den or cave or wherever they are, they come out and boy, are they happy to see a nice comment. So please comment on this interview and some of my other interviews and get inspired, because you never know. You might start writing and then you can be right here on Joy on Paper Live. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Turn the house